He's really big.
He's Hagrid.
He's hilarious.
He's Hagrid.
He's really big.
He's Hagrid.
He's hilarious.
He's Hagrid.
The chapter titles were so good.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Chapter 14, Cornelius Fudge.
He was gonna shoot him.
What was Hagrid planning on doing with the crossbow?
Such a good question. Does he pick it up again when Harry and Ron... No, it's just when... So Harry and Ron knock on his cabin door, and he opens the door with a crossbow, ready to fire it.
Because he thinks it's going to be people coming to take him away. He knows what's about to happen, so he has his crossbow, and then Harry and Ron come in, and then he forgets about it, and then when they do come to take him away, he doesn't use it, which is probably a good thing for him. But what on earth was he planning at that moment when he decides to open his door with a crossbow?
He was going to shoot him.
And then what?
It's a good thing Harry and Ron showed up and distracted him, because if Fudge had just come to the door unannounced, he would have just opened his door with a crossbow and just like, I can't do this, and he would just shot Fudge, immediately killed him, and then just sprinted off into the forest. He could have been protected by Aragog and his people. I mean, spiders.
Think about the future.
Whilst giving Harry Potter advice for which subjects he should choose in his furthering education, Percy Weasley says, "Depends where you want to go, Harry. It's never too early to think about the future, so I'd recommend divination." I just really appreciated that Percy chose to lighten the mood with such a delightful pun there.
It's not very good advice, though. Do that worthless subject with that worthless teacher, because, hey, it's a pun. Right, guys? Anybody? I imagine Percy holding up his hand, looking for the high five, and then remembering that he has no friends. Are you saying that he thinks that she's ugly? Because that's true.
Follow the spiders.
One of my favorite things happens in this chapter. One of my favorite things that happens in Harry Potter. This is a great Hagrid moment. It happens towards the end of the chapter, when Dumbledore is being taken away. And he says,
"However," said Dumbledore, speaking very slowly and clearly so that none of them could miss a word, "you will find that I will only truly have left this school when none here are loyal to me. You will also find that help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it."
That's his big exit, and then he leaves. And then Hagrid is also being taken away. And he says,
If anyone wanted to find out about some stuff, all they'd have to do would be to follow the spiders. That'd lead them right. That's all I'm saying.
I just love the fact that he sees Dumbledore do this, like, truly inspiring, cryptic exit speech that is also, like, encoded with secret hints, and then tries to do the exact same thing.
What do you mean, tries? I think he succeeds.
This is the thing. And in my opinion, he's being a lot more helpful than Dumbledore.
Oh, yes, he certainly is.
Like, Dumbledore is like, they're like, we're gonna take you away from the school because the governors have voted on it, because I'm Lucius Malfoy and I'm one of the governors and I probably bribed the rest of them into doing this, so you're being removed from the school, Dumbledore. And he's like, alright. He doesn't even put up much of a fight. He just goes and he says this thing that is like these platitudes about, I won't really have left until everybody's not loyal to me anymore, and help will always be here for people who give it, and he knows that the Chamber of Secrets is open. He's not being helpful.
I think my point is that he's doing this, quiet dignity thing, but also kind of sticking it to them, and I think Hagrid is trying to do that. This is just my reading, actually, I guess. It's not necessarily true, but I feel like Hagrid is trying to imitate the thing that Dumbledore just did, and doing it badly, but in doing it badly, he actually ends up being more helpful because he's less capable of being subtle in the fact that he's trying to tell Harry, Ron, and Hermione something.
It's ironic that Dumbledore comes off as very dignified and very Dumbledore, and you're like, oh, what a great guy, what a masterful wizard. But then the things he says, I don't think are particularly helpful to Harry and Ron, and the things Hagrid says are helpful, though he also almost gets them killed because he tells them to follow the spiders to Aragog.
It's not just that, it's also he almost gets them caught as well, like in this moment. It is so obvious that he's telling Harry, Ron, and Hermione something. He's saying something to someone who's there.
It's just Harry and Ron.
Yeah, sorry, I keep saying Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Yeah, remember when that mudblood got petrified?
I keep forgetting about how that jumped up. Mudblood's not here anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, petrified her ass. Woo!
You petrified her ass?
That's a way that people use the word ass, Peter. It doesn't mean a literal ass. Also, like when Gwen Stefani says, "That's my shit," in the song Call Back Girl, she is not literally referring to her own shit.
But is she literally talking about bananas?
Slipping on his sunglasses.
In the 16th chapter of the first book, Harry has that rant about how it's very important that they stop quote-unquote Snape from getting the stone. It's more important than all this other crap.
I like to imagine that Harry stopped and held up air quotes there. It's very important that we stop Snape.
Harry knew they were probably wrong.
Snape, if that really is his name.
I mean, I think that was inarguably Harry's most badass moment in the first book. And then in this book, we have...
"What are we going to do?" said Ron quietly in Harry's ear. "Do you think they suspect Hagrid?" "We've got to go and talk to him," said Harry, making up his mind. "I can't believe it's him this time, but if he set the monster loose last time, he'll know how to get inside the Chamber of Secrets, and that's a start." And then Ron says, "But McGonagall said we've got to stay in our tower unless we're in class." "I think," said Harry, more quietly still, slipping on his sunglasses, "it's time to get my dad's old cloak out again."
One last mission. One more and I'm out.
Cue the Led Zeppelin. Why does McGonagall have a purple megaphone?
I mean, she has a megaphone. It needs to be a color, and it is purple.
Sneaky squealing snitch.
Speaking of offhand things that Ron says, Riddle does sound like Percy. Who asked him to squeal on Hagrid anyway? I think that's a ridiculous assertion that it's bad of Riddle to squeal, considering that Ron himself went to great lengths to take illegal polyjuice potion to try and out Malfoy, who they had no more than a hunch on. And, I mean, not just that, but in general, I mean, we've called them the trio before, the self-appointed volunteer crime-fighting squad or whatever.
Yeah, but when we talked about their plan with the Polyjuice Potion, we were saying we didn't really know what they would do if they found out that Malfoy was the heir of Slytherin. We don't know if they would have snitched on him. Maybe Ron has a strict no snitching policy, and he was ready to uphold it. Even if they found out that Malfoy was the heir of Slytherin, he was ready to just call him out on it privately and duel him to the death or something.
I'm just thinking now, can you think of an instance where the trio snitches on anyone in this entire series?
I cannot, and what you just made me think of is Marietta Edgecombe. Apparently, Hermione thought that the punishment for snitching was get terrible acne in the shape of a word on your face so that everybody fucking knows what you did, bitch.
Dean Thomas. Do
you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Speaking of curse words,
Dean Thomas.
Yeah. Harry comes back to his room and everything's scattered around his room. Somebody's taken Riddle's diary a little bit later on.
Ron, Dean, and Seamus came in. Dean swore loudly.
So obviously, this is a book that was intended to be suitable for children, so rightfully the publishers edited this down a little bit, but I believe we are to assume that the original version of the text was,
Ron, Dean, and Seamus came in. "Fuck!" shouted Dean.
Yep, that's it. Got it. You know you're Rowling.
I mean, I've spent so many years just trying to get at the heart of her voice, so I'm glad that I'm pretty good at it at this point.
See, Ron swears in this chapter, too.
Yeah, he does. And once again, it's
Two
bleeped.
swears, one chapter.
Also, I thought it would have been Ron grunted or something like, or perhaps snarled, but it's kind of dumb that he stubs his toe and he's like, shit, or something.
What do you mean, or something? I thought you had the scoop on this one. Can you give us the exact word?
Let's see. In this case, it might have been British specific, it might have been bloody yeah.
Bollocks.
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 Crikey.
Barnacles.
Tickle the pear.
Why are they so convinced that nobody else can know the password to the common room when Harry tells Hermione that somebody got into his room and stole the diary?
Hermione looked aghast at the news. But only a Gryffindor could have stolen... Nobody else knows our password. Exactly, said Harry.
Why can students not tell each other the password?
It was in this same book that Harry and Ron managed to invade the Slytherin common room.
Precisely. It was definitely a Gryffindor that stole Tom Riddle's diary because nobody else could ever get in our common room. Also, do Percy and Penelope Clearwater never hang out in one another's common rooms? Like, are Gryffindors and Hufflepuffs and Slytherins and Ravenclaws literally not allowed in each other's common rooms?
That's never made clear, but we also never see an example that says otherwise.
If I went to school at Hogwarts and if, like, in my first year I made friends with some people who were not in my house, I would be super bummed that I couldn't hang out with them.
Well, I think that's sort of the assumption of the sorting process, is that the only people who you, like, have the capability to be friends with are in your house.
That's really... it's awful.
Is it really that upsetting to you that if you have a special someone who's in another house, like, you can't... I mean, there's an entire enchanted castle that you can be with them in.
There's a room of requirement.
They don't know... Who knows about that?
They could just be, like, wandering the corridor somewhere and be thinking, like, we need a room with a big bed and lube and condoms. And look, here is one.
The castle has, like, 100-something staircases and God knows how many corridors.
All of them perfect for sneaking away and hooking up in.
Yeah, but they got the big cushy chairs and the fireplace. And
with lots of other people around.
Well, not at night. And they also have their dormitories, which apparently girls can come up in. We're just making assumptions here, but maybe you totally can just bring whoever into the common room. If you say the password and you have, like, a Ravenclaw with you, is the fat lady really going to be like, no, she can't come in?
Yes, I think that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, I always had the impression that they can't go into one another's common rooms, but that might just be wrong.
I mean, maybe they're allowed to, but it's just that no one ever does. Because, like I said, the sorting just takes care of that. Where, is there any Gryffindor who's really going to want any Slytherin in their common room? I don't think so.
If you knew to tickle the pair, maybe you could sneak down to the kitchen with your significant other and tickle the pair down there, if you know what I'm saying.
With the house elves, like, watching?
Yeah, that's a different species, Peter. Like, who gives a shit if house elves are watching? If there's a house elf in the room, like, just doing some cooking, would you really not have sex with your girlfriend because the house elf might see a little bit?
Probably depends on the house elf. Like, if it was Winky and she was sobbing, I would imagine that would just be really unpleasant. Like, I wouldn't want to.
Or if it was Creature being like, filthy mudblood mating with a pure blood that's fucking disgusting. Rah.
But I imagine Dobby would be pretty cool about it.
Hey, it's a pun. It's a pun. It's a pun. Pun.
Careful, some hot chocolate.
In fact, Hagrid says,
Take him away and the Muggleborns won't stand a chance. There'll be killing next.
Which is a ridiculous thing to say, kind of, because Dumbledore hasn't intervened in any of the attacks thus far. There's no reason for him to think that Dumbledore is the one thing that has been causing these people to be petrified.
Are you perhaps forgetting the attack on Colin Creevey, where things could have gotten much worse had Dumbledore not been there to get some chocolate?
That's true.
Some hot chocolate at that.
For all we know, Dumbledore has been all over the school getting hot chocolate, making sure that the basilisk doesn't do any more harm. We are lucky that the basilisk has been limited to a few petrifications rather than killings, and we have only Dumbledore to thank for that in his quest to find hot chocolate.
When Hermione and Penelope Clearwater were exiting the library, Dumbledore was hiding behind a shelf in the library, saying, "I sure do want some hot chocolate."
With Dumbledore gone, the responsibility is now on Harry to go get hot chocolate.
But Harry doesn't know where the kitchen is yet. Dumbledore should have said, "Help will be given to anyone at Hogwarts who is loyal to me," or whatever the fuck. Also, if you want to get in the kitchen, you gotta tickle the pear outside the Hufflepuff common room in the basement or whatever.
In your face, political dog.
What's a good word? Forwardly? I was gonna say political, but like something political. Forwardly political. Straight up political.
In your face, political dog.
I don't know that we've seen Jo get quite as in-your-face political dog as she does in this chapter when we're introduced to the Minister of Magic, and what the Minister of Magic is doing is not trying to stop people being petrified or killed at Hogwarts, but he's just trying to do something because people are demanding that he do something, and so he is taking action by getting rid of Hagrid. So we immediately see that the top political official in Wizarding Society is more concerned with his appearance than he is with getting results and keeping the children safe and whatnot. It's not a very flattering view of him that we get right off the bat there.
But you know what is flattering?
His bowler hat?
Yeah, that outfit, just that whole outfit.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That was almost a pun, or I guess sort of a pun, what you said, that he cares more about his appearance than actually doing the right thing. And it is also in the same passage where I feel like this is the most that Joe ever described someone's clothes up to this point. You know, usually it might just be like, oh, this person was wearing this, but here she like takes a full paragraph to describe the strangeness of everything he is wearing.
Pinstriped suit, a scarlet tie, a long black cloak, and pointed purple boots. Under his arm he carried a lime green bowler.
And he enters Hagrid's hut with a page behind him beatboxing, and he says, I got my bowler hat, and I'm Cornelius Fudge. I got my bowler hat, and I'm Cornelius Fudge.
The chapter titles were so good.